Hello, welcome to this session about going from a unified data strategy to business agility in the time of COVID. I am Gangadhar Kunduri, Senior Vice President of Development for Acquia Marketing Cloud. I am very pleased to be joined today by two excellent leaders from one of Acquia's CDP customers, PVH, which is one of the leading fashion and lifestyle companies in the world. Their brand portfolio includes Calvin Klein, Tommy Hilfiger, Van Heusen, and many more. I'm joined today by two excellent PVH marketing technology and analytics executives, Jal and Barbara. Jal and Barbara, could you please introduce yourselves?
Hi, GK. This is Jal Tumbala. I am a Senior Director of Marketing Technologies at PVH. In my role, I am responsible for product management and delivery of tech capabilities to our marketing, media, and customer service functions. I am excited to be here today with Barbara and GK to talk a little bit about our journey with Acquia CDP so far.
Hi, and I'm Barbara Von Yu. I am Director of Business Process for Consumer Data and Insights here at PVH. And in my role, I work with leadership and marketers and technologists to bring about process excellence for data-driven insights and technologies that leads to consumer loyalty. So I'm really excited to be here with GK and Jal to talk about this exciting term.
Excellent. Thank you, Jal and Barbara. To start off with, um, how did Acquia CDP help PVH become more customer data driven? Can you share some thoughts and insights on that?
Yeah, I can start. So one, I think the Acquia CDP has not only helped us bring data from our customer data together from different touch points, be it online, retail, etc. But more importantly, it actually helped us give access for the data to different functions in our organization. We have definitely enabled access to our marketing teams across different brands, but we have also enabled access to teams in other business functions, like for example, customer service that could benefit by leveraging the data and insights coming out of the CDP.
Yeah, and I can add, it's really been a journey. I think that this is evolving over time. At the onset, what we've been doing is leveraging the data to really improve our marketing communications to be more relevant. And really, for the long term, what our plan is to really expand out that journey to where it will be evolving to include other parts of the business, for instance, merchandise or performance. So it's an evolving journey for sure.
Excellent, excellent. So sounds like you took an approach where you bring data from many different touch points and provide like direct access to data, and you took a data first and data centric approach to your customers, which led you to choose a CDP.
It's true. As one of the leading fashion brands in the world, we have always been consumer focused and data focused. But I feel like what has happened, which is different, is this is really changing how we're working. And really, one of our core values as a corporation is to deliver personalized experiences for our consumers. So this is really aiding us in doing that.
Great,
Yeah.
great.
So
Jal, please.
yeah, no, I was just gonna add to that, saying that like Barbara said, driving those personalized consumer experiences is really one of our stated priorities. And we realize that being data driven is the way to do it at scale, right? So that's where our CDP kind of comes into play.
Awesome. You shared how enabling different teams was an important factor in choosing a CDP and providing that direct access to data. And Barbara, you talked about some of the teams that you want to enable there. Can you share some insights on how having access to this data fundamentally changed how these teams operate and collaborate?
Sure, I can start there. I can say that previously to having the CDP, we were set up really as an agency relationship with an outside vendor, and so we would create briefs for that customer segmentation, hand that off. That customer segmentation would then come back after several days. And then if there was any modification or any tweaking, that would happen at that point. And this has completely changed the way we're working because of access to the data for our CRM teams and media teams. And I think that it has completely changed the way we are working.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So Barbara, I think that's a great point, right? So giving access to the marketing teams and marketers really changed in a tangible way how we approach our marketing efforts. I would also say there is this element of data, like curiosity-driven, insights generation, right? As we give access to data to people, not only to do their day-to-day jobs, but also to understand our customer behavior better, right? And you go into the data, try to look, with one question, looking for an answer, that leads to another question, and that suddenly leads to another insight, right? So there is this exploration-driven insights, right? We are definitely at the beginning parts of it, but we can already see different, people in different teams actually become data curious, right? I would think I would say that's another, we can't measure that curiosity, but it's another intangible effect of how we are changing the organization.
Love it. I love the term data curious, and how data curious has been powered and empowered the teams and changed this iteration from days to hours in finding insights and putting that into action using the
Sure.
Acquia CDP and the power of that. That's great. Um, and I know, over the past few months, you've been on this journey where you have launched Acquia CDP and enabled more and more teams and more use cases. Could you share some insights on how this program has broadened within the organization since you first launched the CDP, and as you go on this path towards democratizing the data, making people more data curious based on the data? Maybe Barbara, you want to start off on this?
Yeah, I would say that, again, I know we're using the term journey because it really is a journey. It's evolving over time, but we've really taken an approach where it's not just that core team, maybe CRM or email production, but we've really taken an approach where we've provided access to data to a larger group of people, maybe media or managers. We feel like that access helps people focus on their area of expertise and what they're looking for in their discovery of information. And it's really been an advantage to us. And I think in the past, and Joel, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in the past about 4 people at a single time could actually be in a data platform, whereas now I would say we probably have 20 people in a single day in the platform at a single time. And, I think that's completely the way we're working.
Yeah. I agree, and I think definitely, and as Barbara pointed out, it's a journey. We are at, I would say, at the beginning phases of that journey, right? And as more teams adopt the platform and the capabilities, I think there are three aspects in which we are really impacting through the CDP, through the customer data, right? One is definitely on the cultural level, right? Um, every organization uses, we're both data driven and intuition driven from a decision making perspective. But what the CDP platform is helping us do is putting that more emphasis on data, right? Not taking away intuition, but putting emphasis on data so that we are actually able to supplement and complement intuition to make our decisions, right? Uh, and the second aspect I would say is collaboration, right? It takes different teams, both technology, marketing, business, to actually come together to implement a platform like CDP. But those relationships that were created, those collaboration forums that were created as part of the implementation effort, are long lasting, right? Even after the implementation, we are actually leveraging those relationships and forums to share our knowledge across functions, right? And the last aspect I would say is thinking from a business strategy perspective. Now that as we become more data driven, we have that ability to ask the question to ourselves, saying, how are we impacting the business, right? And measure from that perspective whether it is, when we talk about a campaign, or when we talk about new investments into tech.
Great. So empowering from 4 users to 100 users, and focusing on culture, collaboration, and strategy. That sounds awesome. Um, Given where we are in 2020, everybody's mind is thinking about business agility in the context of COVID. So can you comment more about how have you leveraged the CDP during the COVID times? What have you learned? How did it help the business be more adaptable to the changing needs of the customer?
Sure. Joe, would you like me to go, or we could both answer this question. It's pretty impactful.
Yeah, go for it, Barbara.
Yeah, so I would say that, as there was so much uncertainty with COVID, the stores were being closed, and it was very concerning how this was going to impact our business, obviously anybody's business. But what the teams were able to do as stores were closing was able to communicate to our consumer and drive them really online, which was an accelerator to our plan to be more omni-channel. But it came at a very unexpected time, and the fact that we became remote at the very same time we were cutting over the technology. So we accomplished a great feat. Not only were we able to drive business to online, but we were able to cut over to our new CDP at a time when we began working remotely.
Yeah. No, that's a great summary, right, Barbara? So we were really, the last few weeks of our implementation journey was all of a sudden remote, right? We went from a heavy in-person collaboration to 100% remote collaboration. It was a great test case, and none of us planned for it, right? So even when we talked about CDP implementation and our cutover go live with the platform, we never thought, COVID campaigns are going to be our first use case, right? But like Barbara said, immediately once we went live, we had to leverage the data in the system. We had to think about how can we pivot our strategies and our campaigns with everyday evolving situation, right? So while we didn't plan for it, I think that was a perfect, a great use case for us straight out of the gate.
Great. Yeah, I
True.
remember some great
And
stories
then,
from.
yeah.
Go ahead,
No, I
Barbara,
was going to
please.
add, and then coming out of COVID, well, not that we're out of COVID, but coming out of when the stores were opening, we were then able to be very targeted and specific about what stores were opening and driving people to their closest store. So it was pretty powerful.
Great. I remember a lot of great stories from us going into 100% remote and collaborating during the launch, like Jal that you mentioned, which was great. But I think that's top conversation. But the initial use cases and how Acquia CDP helped the business adapt to the and be mobile to the demands, the business demands was great. I think we also collaborated on developing the COVID analysis dashboard, worked together, and then we provided it to all of the CDP customers through our CDP Analytics Launchpad dashboards, which is another great scenario that we have worked together in that spirit of business agility.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So, and Barbara can actually go into some more details, but the dashboard development was, was one of those first partnership driven exercises that we have done post implementation with Acquia, right? Acquia has been a great partner for us throughout the implementation journey, but as soon as we were live on the platform, there was this need for not only surfacing pivoting the campaigns but also surfacing insights quickly, right? And that was a great exercise.
Great,
Yeah, and I
great.
would say the way that, even the way that came about was pretty unique in that it was one of the brand team members who really sparked that out of curiosity. How are we impacting the business through this tumultuous time?
Great, great. So leveraging the unified and accurate customer profile from omnichannel, and then developing insights based on that with the COVID dashboard and turning that into segmentation where you are able to turn them into action in hours instead of days, and leveraging the data curiosity of 100 plus users. I think that's a great combination that results in the business agility that you talked about. I want to, with that all background, I'm sure some of the listeners are either in the process of thinking about implementing a CDP strategy or in the process of implementing one. So, in that context, could you give some advice to our listeners on how to think about getting a CDP or developing a data first approach and the do's and don'ts in that context? Uh,
Sure. So I would say, choosing a CDP or going on the implementation journey of a CDP, my advice would be to think of it slightly different from any other build versus buy decisions that that you would have done in the past, right? So thinking about unifying customer data, understanding it, activating it, um, as that's not just a technology-driven decision. You should also think about data strategy and marketing strategy, and how fast the landscape actually evolves when it comes to data and martech, right? So taking all of that into consideration, I would say look at it as a strategic partnership that you are embarking on before you actually make a decision, make a platform decision, partnership decision, right? The other aspect would be emphasizing on the identity resolution capabilities so that you can actually have robust unification capabilities. That's one of the complex pieces of the puzzle, right? And the last thing I would say is the customer data platform or CDP, think of it as an omni-channel solution, not as a point solution towards one of your channels, right? So those are some of the key points that I would hit on.
Great. Barbara, anything you want to add to that one?
Yeah, I would say also the machine learning models are such an added advantage that we have with the CDP solution, solution, and it is built in nightly. I mean, this is a tremendous advantage, and there are a number of models we're on that maturity curve. We're leveraging models as we're maturing as well. So it's really a terrific aspect to the tool.
Great, thank you. That strategic partnership and thinking of CDP as not part of a channel, but think of it as an omni-channel data first approach. That's great advice. Any advice you want to share for someone who already made a decision to implement a CDC strategy and they are in the process of adopting one, based on your journey on adopting that so far?
Yeah,
I would
absolutely.
say if I
So
can,
if
oh, go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
no, go ahead, Barbara.
No, I was going to say with adoption, really think about it from the onset. Don't think of it as an add-on. It's really really to be thought about as part of the strategic process in that journey.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you're implementing CDP, more often than not, you're on a transformation journey. So really approach it as you would approach a transformational engagement.
Great, great. Transformational engagement and think of it as a journey. Great advice. So it sounds like there are always more opportunities to grow the CDP program and positively impact the business across teams, democratize the data, make people more data curious, and particularly think of a data first approach. Do it with outside of a single channel and think of it as something that you want to leverage from an omni-channel approach and think of it with a strategic partnership and as a journey. This is all great advice. Thank you so much for sharing your insights on your successful CDP adoption and a great start to a long partnership and a journey to be even more successful. Thank you, Jal, and thank you, Barbara.
Thank you,
Thank
GK.
you.